Recently, there was a video by OG Rose based on a book chapter they had. The chapter and the video, they're both called Ideas Are Not Experiences. Something along those lines. Maybe I'm not saying the title exactly. The distinction between ideas and experiences, the idea that these two are different things. An idea is different. And it reminded me of something that I'd been meaning to discuss on my channel for a long time, but this was a very good trigger. It's a nice way into the topic of advice, giving advice, receiving advice, the usefulness of advice giving and the uselessness of advice. My view is that most of the time, the majority of times when somebody gives an advice, the advice itself is not useful. It is not from the perspective of the person receiving the advice. That recipient doesn't see the point of the advice. So maybe we can begin with these observations. The disparity, the difference, on the one hand, the person who is giving advice, and on the other side, the recipient of the advice. The person who is giving the advice is compelled to give the advice. Let's say there's a parent, mother, father, or there's an older, wiser friend who feels compelled, confident that this advice should be given, and so there's a point in giving the advice, and also they are convinced that the advice, hearing the advice, will have an effect, will have a positive impact on the person receiving it. They feel like the moment the other person just hears my advice, they're going to change their behavior, or they're going to implement or try out a new behavior, or stop doing something that they're already doing that is wrong. So the person giving the advice has those opinions or feelings. On the other side, the person who's receiving the advice, assuming that they need it, even if they need the advice, it's the case often that they don't see the point in the advice, and that the advice doesn't change anything in their behavior, in their convictions. Now that disparity, I think, is related to the difference between ideas and experiences. The person who is giving the advice has access to both the experiences and the ideas, but what they are able to share with the other person is only the ideas. Let's say, for example, smoking is bad for you, or you should be careful who you choose as a friend. These are advice. These advices are ideas, or a combination of ideas formed in as propositions and given to the other person. The reason why the recipient of an advice doesn't relate to them is because the underlying experiences are not evoked. You're not reminded of your bad friends or your good friends, or you don't have experience of, coughing because of smoking yet. So for that reason, for the reason of lack of the experiences corresponding to the ideas, people are not moved when they receive those suggestions. Now, OG Rose continues this line of thought and attaches it to another problem, which is summarized with this with the idea that history repeats itself. And we could also reformulate that and say that each generation wants to learn from its own mistakes. Each generation, your children, your children's children, they don't want advice, they want to experience and learn from their own experiences. So this is a problem. Is there a solution to this problem? Can we convey in some way, can we communicate the lessons that we have learned? Lessons we have learned, especially the lessons we have learned the hard way. Can we convey them, communicate them, pass them on to other people without the necessity of them replicating the experiences as well, just with the ideas? Sorry about the noise. I know the wind is causing background noise. Let's continue. Hopefully it won't last too long. There is a solution, I think, and the solution comes with the context of the advice. The advice is given in the context of an existing relationship, and that relationship can have, as one of its dimensions, the relationship can have in it the component of trust. So when I receive an advice from someone that I trust, I don't need to necessarily have access to their experience. What is enabled by trust is the ability or the disposition, the tendency to get the ideas and just consider them, entertain the ideas without my own experiences having to accompany them. So if somebody tells me, be careful who you choose as your friend, I start reflecting and it's like, this person, our relationship is already such a rich basis. It's a medium in which ideas are treated as worthwhile, as important, as significant. The intention of the other person, I don't have to question their intention. I don't have to say, okay, maybe the other person just wants to control me, or they just want me to not cause them headache or trouble. Instead, I'll say, I trust them enough to experiment with the ideas, to be mindful of the meaning behind their ideas, or the experiences that might correspond to the ideas. I think that is what the solution that is offered by trust, by an existing relationship. That is why it is so important for teachers and for parents to work hard cultivating trust in their relationships, not just give them advice. And one way in which we cultivate trust is by showing to the children or showing to our friends our own integrity and our own consistency. That I don't just give good advice, I'm also trying to live well. I'm also trying to live according to the ideas that I am espousing, some word that sounds like those. So trust is built on the basis of observed integrity and observed congruence, observed consistency in the parent and the friend. For my advice to carry any charge, to carry any credibility, I should show that I am trying to live well, not just to have good ideas, but to also live according to my own ideas, to generate the kind of experiences that correspond to the ideas that I am expounding. Okay, that's good. Thank you for listening. If you have been tolerating the background noise, thank you. If you have any follow-up, any clarifications, any questions regarding this topic, I would love to hear them. Otherwise, until next time.